Hi everybody, hope you're doing fantastic today. It's Brett Lochte, an artist here. So I've got a new painting I'm going to work on, and a couple of other things as well. But this is 10 by 8 for the painting size and 150 DPI because I'll use the nanopixel export to export it. I have the line art here, which I've already exported for patrons, so you'll be able to have it here. It's just a quick rough sketch. I'm thinking of kind of like a lake scene back here, and maybe a kind of a sunset, really dusk kind of thing, where it's maybe some stars and stuff, and campfire going, a little boat docked over here, tied up, kind of thing. Just a nice little evening painting. And I've got some brushes that I was making as well. Oddly enough, I was doing this, and I was wanting to work on some brushes for myself and for patrons, and I was doing that, and then Escape Motions put out their latest newsletter, and I saw that there was a tutorial on making brushes. So I thought, it's kind of funny. So apparently great minds think alike. So I've got a few here that I've done up, some grass brushes and some tree brushes for leaves and stuff like that. So I won't be using a whole lot of those in this one, but I'll be releasing these out soon over to patrons. And I had some other ones that I'd done up, some cloud brushes. May tap into those a little bit to kind of show you here what those are looking like. But a couple different versions that I've started with and playing around with as well. So anyway, those will be coming out soon for patrons and probably people that have bought my brushes on Gumroad as well. But for right now, let's dive into this and kind of play around with this painting and go over some of the different things for working on it. So like I said, I've got the line art over here, and I've got the background. The background is just a wet layer, as you can see here, and it's just this bluish color with the pigment turned on as well. I'm using the oil pigments here, which is one of the default things, and I've got a few of the other additional ones like the plein air, the gray lilac, and so forth. Those are all the codes for all those are over on Patreon for patrons. So if you want to get those, but I'm just going to grab kind of a darker color, this one right here, which is really this Prussian blue. So throw this up here, and it doesn't really matter what, because I'm going to blend this out. So I guess I'll grab one of these cloud brushes I have here. Using the right and left bracket key, which you can see, like, this is that brush that I'm working on for the clouds, and how it's going to be really kind of a fun brush to play around with. But I just want to throw in some quick blue here. I'm going to kind of model it around a little bit and just kind of throwing that in. And then I'm going to switch over to 4 and just kind of quickly smudge it around a little bit. This is going to be a fun brush to play around with for clouds, making it a little bit easier. Because that's what I was coming up with these cloud brushes. I was like, I want to make some brushes that make it easier for people to make clouds, myself included, but really just, I know for some people it can be really difficult to make clouds. And so that's what these brushes kind of came about from. So I think that's going to work for that. Go a little bit darker. Maybe throw in some different stuff here. And this was designed so that if you press lighter, it'll kind of blend. If you press harder, it lays down paint. Kind of like that. Throwing in some stuff, and I'm just kind of slapping some paint up here real quick. Nothing crazy. I'll put some clouds in over this as well. And I think that'll work. So I'm going to switch over to my blender. It's soft. Just kind of softly blend all this together. Add a little noise to it. I can also select this area down to where my horizon line is right here, and go to Filter and go to Gaussian Blur, crank that up, and just kind of blur that out. If I really want to get that soft kind of a blur, and apply it like so. And that'll give me just kind of a quicker blur to it. Blue again, kind of desaturate it a little bit. I'm going to jump over to the watercolor, switch to some of my watercolor brushes. I've got that cloud brush in here as well. I'm just going to throw that in here and let it kind of disperse some. It's going to give us some interesting effects. I'm going to switch to 4 again. Just kind of smear this around. Give it a second to kind of blend out a little bit. Down here, you can see that I've got, like, right along through here, I've got some distant mountains, and we've got these clouds. So I want to, right through here, kind of give the hint of, like I said, some like the sun setting a little bit. So let's come back up here. Just kind of throw a little bit of that in there to kind of darken this and vignette the edges ever so slightly. Something like that. Let's pause that. Go back to just like so. I'm going to push F and fast dry that. Control D and deselect. Now I'm going to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to do freeform. And I'm just going to kind of roughly follow the shape of what I laid out for my clouds here. Just like so. Like that. I'm going to go back to my this watercolor brush, cloud brush. Lay in some of this bone black, but because it's transparent from the watercolor, to unpause the diffusion, repause it. I'm going to grab a little bit of this dark blue, put some of that in there. A little bit of this lighter blue, the bone black again, and I'm going to unpause it again. I'm going to switch to 4. I'm just going to kind of squish this around a little bit. Okay, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to Control D. I'm going to hide the line art for a second. And come in here, edges. Kind of muss this up a little bit. Just kind of push it around. So we can get some really interesting textures just by doing that. And I can even come in here, push this back a little bit, come a little bit further back up into here. Like so. I'm going to fast dry it again. I'm going to switch back over to the cloud brush for the express oils because I want this to be opaque. Excuse me. So I've got some interesting kind of build up here and there of clouds. So I'm going to take this brush. I'm going to grab some of this blue here. And I'm just going to kind of softly build it out. A little bit bigger. Press 4. Soften it. Actually, I'm going to switch over to this other version of it, which is a kind of a blurrier version of it. Like so. I think that's going to give us a really kind of an interesting look. Like this. I kind of like how that's looking. I'm going to grab this blue again. Bring this down. The edge. Kind of define and breathe from it a little bit. Something kind of like that. Grab this knife smooth. I'm going to come down here and just kind of come across the bottom. Just kind of smooth it back out a little bit. Something kind of like grab my selection tool. This. And I'm really jiggling this along here so that it's kind of bumpy. Break this up. Now I can use my drawing again if I want to, but I'm just kind of not really relying on that. And I'm going to do Shift-Control-I. Grab this black. I'm going to go to the airbrush. Up in size. Define that a little more. Switch this blue. Something like that. Oops. That's a little too much. Zoom this out so I got a little more control. Lower the opacity so I'm getting a little bit better gradation on that. Down here, I'm going to have a little bit of this, and then it's a little too bright. Something along those lines. Now I'm going to go back to filter, and let's go to Gaussian. Let's apply that. Something along the lines of that. No, I think that's a little much. Do blending tool. Oops. I meant to do the soft blend. Not quite getting the blend I want. So I may have to come back to this and think about it for a minute. Oops. But there's one other thing I want to do here. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to go to the white. I'm going to go to my stencils. I'm going to grab my stars. Throw in a few of those. Control D. Alright, so we can see our mountains here. And some of the stuff we've got here. Bring this up a little bit. Maybe something kind of like that. This is one of those great things about digital art, is that we can play around with it. Just like so. There we go. So now we've got some more space to play around with stuff there. More space for space. Anyway. And then we can play around with the sun and stuff here a little more, because I do want to play around with some of this color. Not overly happy. It's a little too much green, I think. All right. But let's put some of the lake here. Make a new layer here. Let's go ahead and drag this across. Tell it OK. And let's select this color here. And push L for fill. We're going to fill that. And then we can go to back to our selection. Control D. Come down through here. Delete that. Delete that. Grab our water stencil. Turn off lock ratio. Give it a stretch. Work out just about perfect. And we're going transparency. Let's grab a little bit of this color here. We'll just kind of lay some of it in quickly. We just want a hint of color. Something like that. You can switch to 4. Actually, I'm going to switch to 4, but I'm going to go with this one to the soft knife. 4. And just kind of quickly go back and forth over these. I'm going to backspace that to get rid of it. I'm going to hide the... I think that'll work. You know, I'm going to go ahead and put the mountains in just because I think they need to be there to kind of get an idea. So let's go ahead and do this. With this one, come a little bit over towards the purple and desaturate it. And let's go ahead and fill this in. Oops. Like so. I'm going to grab a little bit of this black up here and just kind of scrub it in. Put it to 4. Darken it. Let's hide the line art again. D. And let's lock the transparency. Something like that. All I'm doing here is just using a little bit of the background colors to kind of lay in some, directional lighting. And kind of soften this back here. It just kind of gives the indication of, different areas of light hitting it. We can grab the airbrush tool, move the opacity down to maybe like 18 or so. Grab this darker color up here. I come along the bottom. Like so. And then switch over to the blend. Just kind of blend it out. Like so. Something kind of like that. Save this real quick. Alright, so we've got that saved. We've got a good portion of our underpainting done here. So now let's work on some of the foreground underpainting. Let's work on this boat. And for the boat, we're just going to kind of put a little bit of a holder here for now. Just kind of a holder color. And for the ground, umber. Throw this in. We'll put some grass and stuff on it too, but just kind of get a dark color in here for now. Act as our placeholder. There we go. That. So now we've got some of that brighter yellow, orange, some of this reddish color, reddish brown, and orange kind of coming its way up and migrating through some of these greenish colors into the blues and kind of blending those over. And you can see how I've brought some of those same colors down through here, and it's starting to give us the glows of all of these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these darker colors and kind of blend it in through here, and then I'll bring that a little bit closer towards us, and then I'll give a little bit more of a silver lining to some of these, like a, you know, maybe a moon is shining. But see how it also seeded these down here as well. So let's do some of that. Just kind of have these blend into each other. Bring that across. It brings it forward. Maybe do it over here on this side as well. It just kind of vignettes these together. Maybe one down through here. Something like that. It gives a nice blend of clouds and kind of a look. We might come back and add a little something more to them, but I think for right now that's a good look. So let's work a little bit on our foreground stuff here. So I think we can do something with the boat here. So let's work on that. pull in some of this campfire. So it's a bit of a glow. I'm going to grab a little bit of this Naples yellow. Because it's a little bit harder surface, it's going to reflect a little bit more. So I'm going to make that look a little bit more like it's got some So I'm doing this streaky on purpose. That's going to give kind of the indication of some boards. Something like that. A bit of red. Maybe something like that, and then we can give it a little bit of a highlight. And dry knife. Maybe something along the lines of that. Work for now. This is one of the new grass brushes that I've been putting together. Good spot to use it, I think. Not too much. So I think it lays it in fairly quickly, and then what I can do here is just kind of come back and kind of smudge the ground around it. And once I've kind of got it laid in there where I think it looks kind of decent, I can come back with like my pen and then grab a few extra ones here and there. This. And that'll kind of help break it up. So repeated. Like so. Now I'm going to play around with these some more and add some highlights and stuff and maybe some shadows, but I wanted to get that in there. Just kind of smudge this paint around, make some rocks. Whoops. Let's make the campfire with this dark color here. Actually, I'm going to go more the bone black. It's not quite on with that bluish color. So I'm going with this grainy because I want to build up some of this burnt charcoal looking type stuff. And this one kind of has that brush already designed that way. So I'm just going to throw some of these reds here and there to kind of start building this out for where there's embers. And then I'll start doing the same with the orange. Just like that. The cad yellow. This is just going to be a back and forth of yellows and oranges and going into the 4 for the smudge to blend it. Just kind of wiggle back and forth so that you build it up, and then press 4 to kind of go in and soften. Then we can add a little bit of white. Where it's going to be the hottest. And then again, some 4. Kind of like so. Then we can add another layer. Change this one to overlay. Go back into these brighter areas. make them shine. Like so. And kind of selectively erase this back so that the rocks are casting a shadow. The campfire. Make a new layer. Grab some of this orange. Throw that in there. So now we've got those on there. Do Control click. Go up to this layer. The airbrush. Grab this. We can lighten some of these. Make a few sparklies. So now we've got a few of those popping off of there. We can make a few bigger ones too if we want to. Back down here, turn that off. Click, come back up to here, grab this, grab this. D. And so now we got a few sparklies jumping up on there. So then the other thing is to kind of round out some of these rocks to make them look a little better. Helps to be on the right thing. Just something real simple for these. Don't need to go crazy with it. And then smear that on there. Give it just a little bit of highlight. Just kind of put it on there and then smear it around. And that'll give it that nice glow. Something like that. Now we can grab the bottom of this, smear it out. Change the opacity down to that. Just kind of play around with these till you get them kind of how you like them. And then I'm going to add some pebbles, but I'm going to do it on a new layer. So just something like that. And then I can just take the brush itself, kind of add a few spots here and there, rocks. And the like. So, I think we're closing in on this one. Just kind of a nice little fun painting, something to do, you know, to give us kind of a nice little scene. Got some water, got some grass, some mountains, some clouds. Kind of something fun to do, right? So what are your thoughts on it? Did you like this one? Is there something different you would like to try on the next one? Any feedback? Something I can help you go over. The brushes that I've used in this one will be available to patrons. So those will be coming out very shortly, probably in a different post. So be looking for those. In other words, when I say different post, probably not the video post, but something afterwards. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. And, you know, I thought it was kind of a fun one. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for being here.